Well, hello. It is today. Today is Saturday, at least for me. Maybe if you're on the other side of the world, it's not. Need just another minute here. Caffeine. Hello. Just nabbed a shower earlier, so hair's a little wet. Oh. Occasionally I shout out my streams to various places. And this time I said, hey, come enjoy some coffee and chat with me. Someone says, no. It just makes me sad. Music today is almost on point. It's neat. I like it. Just wait for a couple people to filter in. I was a little bit late today. Okay, more than a little bit late. Sorry. Do you know finals are stressful? These be stressful times. Try and actually scoot in here a little bit. Slightly unprepared. There we go. Actually sit in that chair correctly. I hear sitting in chairs correctly is good for your posture. As in, it's not bad for your posture. Okay. Hello, it is a Madv. Hello, Madv. How's it going? Yeah, it's a kind of a chill stream today. I went ahead and got a bunch of fun things done. I say fun, but I actually mean is homework and finals. Yay, finals. I just woke up about 20 minutes ago. Hence the late stream, sorry. It could be better. No, why is that? I mean, like I said, I know I'm going through finals, but what's going on with Madv? At least today. This coffee is delicious today. I actually used oat milk today, which is strange. It's unusual for me. I usually use regular milk, but oat milk's tastes really creamy, surprisingly. It's nice. It's like the equivalent of half and half, but somehow slightly creamier. I don't know how they managed it, but it's delicious. And vegan, I guess, if you're into that. It's also vegan. Coffee is also vegan. I have a couple of things on my list that are worth talking about or worth mentioning, but if Madv would also like to share their tales of woe today, they are more than welcome to. But in the meantime, I have just got a notification on my phone earlier today about a package that's coming in for me. It's a couple of, couple of 9 volts. And it's like 4 9-volt batteries. Which doesn't sound that impressive, and it's really not, but we're out of 9 volts somehow. And I need them for my audio amplifier project. Really, you're supposed to use 15 volts, but I don't have 15 volt batteries. I don't think they exist. So, 9 volts it is. Hey, look at me using the mute button like a boss. Beautiful. We are accompanied today by Gigi, by the way, which is Kitty up there. Either people have returned, or cats have knocked things off the podiums here. Yeah, show you the kitty. Oh no, he fell. I tried. E for effort. Now I'm just being blocked. I've been thinking about becoming a pen tester. Okay. Why you say thinking about? Trying to get him a good spot up there. There he is. Yeah, what do you say thinking about? Why not just become one? I have to wonder. Surprisingly, I'm almost done with this cup of coffee. That's a little disheartening. That's okay. I have more. Unfortunately, I can't make any right now, but I have more. Yeah, so I have to wonder, like, why... What do you say I've been thinking about becoming a pen tester? Why not just kind of start into it and see if that's for you? Any particular reason, or? I don't know. But as for me, I've been doing finals all week because finals are fun. I've had, I think, what, 4 or 5 finals, something like that, due on 2, 3, yeah, 4 finals due on Saturday at the same time. Oh, wrong words. I've been practicing and studying for it. Yeah, it's interesting. You taking the penetration testing with Callie, or are you taking some other course that's offered by colleges or whatever? I'm not sure. They all have their merits. It just depends on how you want to go about it. Yeah, sorry, speaking of college, yeah, I've had 4 finals, they're all due on Sunday. So I decided to not be an idiot and actually do a couple of them for the week. So I've gotten through 2 classes so far. And so I still have 2 finals left. So I'm gonna do 1 today and then 1 tomorrow. And then I should be done with all of my classes, so except for some actual like final exams or whatever on Tuesday, Wednesday. These are like final projects kind of things. I know, finals are weird. But yeah, once that's over, my semester has officially ended. Had my last student government meeting, had the last meeting with the higher ups for reasons, had my last lab meeting where the lab rats got together and, you know, we all just had a bunch of fun. I think next week's lab meeting is Rocket League or something like that. Apparently they've been playing a lot of Rocket League. I just haven't had time. Maybe I'll get it. How much is Rocket League? Is it? It's for PC, right? I assume so. You would think it's for PC. If I could join in on that. Let's see. It's on Steam, I assume. Does anybody here actually play Rocket League? How do you even play it? I've seen it a couple of times. It's not really my kind of game, but if everybody wants to play it, then, you know, sure. I guess it's only like 20 bucks. I say only, but doesn't it go down in price a lot? I don't know anything about this game. Yeah, it's on Steam though. Maybe I'll join in one day. Yeah, had a lot of lasts over the last week or two, so just means the semester is winding down and coming to an end, and we'll see about how summer works and how fall works. Fall will be interesting. Excuse me. Oh, you didn't even hear that. Ah! Master of the mute button. Is your last semester? It's not my last semester. My last semester is actually going to be next semester, at least for as far as my degree is concerned. It's weird to think about me actually graduating. So I don't know if you've heard of a YouTuber. Excuse me one more time. I don't know if you've heard of a YouTuber called Jarvis Johnson. Jarvis Johnson? I don't know why I said that so weird the first time. Jarvis Johnson. Let's see if I can find him. He's still around, isn't he? Still making videos. I think I saw him... a few years ago, 3-4 years ago I subscribed. Oh, he's up to 1.15 million subscribers. Holy shit. Is he still making videos? Yes, yeah. It's like the last one was like a week ago. But, looks like he's got his kind of niche now, but a couple of years ago he was still kind of figuring things out. And he was just making content on him, just kind of chatting about life and things, which is really interesting to me. I enjoy those kinds of things, which is why I do them. But he was just kind of chatting about like how he works. So he works in Silicon Valley. No, not heard of him. Well, if you ever get a chance, maybe check him out. I don't know. It's, like I said, the content's changed since I subscribed, but might still be interesting, who knows. Yeah, back then he was talking about like how he got into his job at Silicon Valley. I think he worked at Google for a while, and he worked at worked at Patreon as like one of the like lead developer people. So I thought that was really cool. But he was talking about how he got those jobs, and he mentioned college a lot because that's how you get those jobs, is going to college. And so I was watching those videos. This was, like I said, a few years ago before I even started going to college, or going back to college, I guess. It took me a while to figure out that I really needed a college education. So yeah, this was a few years ago. He was talking about how, you know, he went to college and how that was like the best thing that ever happened to him, and how he got his jobs from internships and things from college, and he wouldn't have gotten those opportunities otherwise. I think Google was the one who hired him. Not you.
Sorry, I don't have any information about that.
Not you. I think Google was the one who hired him, like right out of the internship kind of thing, and so he got to start there. But so he was talking about that and how he wouldn't be where he was basically without college and without the internships and everything. And so I was watching that as I was unemployed, because or fun employed, I guess is what you call it, because layoffs happened, and you know, I was expendable at that point in time, because, you know, anybody that was low ranking, only had a GED, etc., was definitely expendable. So layoffs were happening basically. I got laid off. So I was just kind of browsing YouTube, found the video, and I went, you know, maybe it's a good idea to go back to college. Maybe I didn't give it a fair shake the first time, because when I first went to college, it was when I was 18. And I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had no idea what I was doing in school. I hated school. I still dislike school. I like the actual act of sitting in a class and learning. But it's beneficial. I understand that. But yeah, so I went, okay, maybe I didn't give it a fair shake the first time, and so I thought, oh, maybe I'll go back. And it took me about a week after that to really kind of sit down one morning and actually apply. It was about a week later, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'll just apply, see if I get in. Who knows, right? And I got in. I was awarded financial aid to actually help pay for the classes because I had no money. I still had no money. And I got in, I started, and turns out, you know, as long as you actually do what you're supposed to do, it's not too bad. Also, the most important part of college that nobody ever talks about, that nobody ever mentions, which is weird. Everybody always says, oh, go to college, do this, do that, right? That's all well and good, but if you don't get the most out of your college experience, you're not getting what you're supposed to be getting out of college. What I mean by that is that if you just go to college, right, and you just take the classes and you just keep your head down and pass the classes and get out, that's fine, I guess, but that's not what you're supposed to be doing in college, surprisingly enough. I mean, yes, technically you're supposed to, you know, pass the classes, obviously, get your degree and get out, right? Fair enough. But that's not what you're supposed to be doing while you're in college. What you're supposed to be doing in college is networking, is finding people to get you beyond college after you graduate. And that was one of the first things I learned kind of early was, and it's not that nobody's saying this. There are people that say, hey, do the extra stuff, but I've never heard them say why. They're like, oh yeah, do the clubs, do the student government stuff, do this, do that. It's like, yeah, great, but why? There's a reason for that. It's a very good reason. If you just keep your head down and graduate, you're gonna be fucked when you graduate. You won't have anything to rely on. You will have to just apply to random places and hope to God you make it. Yeah, it's nasty out there, especially now. And coming from someone who has been out there, especially without a college degree, it is really nasty. If you think that you can get a good paying job without a college degree, you are sorely mistaken. Again, coming from years of experience before a college degree. Believe me, I have been there. I have done that. I have thought the same thing. I was like, no, it's fine. I'll just show them my skills. There is no showing them your skills. They don't let you pass the front gate without a college degree. Not anymore. Maybe it was like that back in the 40s and 50s where, you know, college education was a benefit, but today it's required. If you don't have it, you don't get past the automated filters. And if you don't get past the automated filters, you can't show a human your real skills. Simple as that. And again, believe me, coming from someone who applied to literally tens of thousands of jobs, tens of thousands, in the maybe couple of years, I say 6 to 10 years, I think, give or take, before I went to college. It's hard. Don't do it. Don't do that to yourself. Maybe it'll take you a while to figure out what you want to do. Maybe it'll take you a while to kind of, you know, settle down and say, I want to go back to college, and that's fine. But go back to college at some point. Or go to college at some point. Get the degree. Because you will be fucked without it. And you say, oh, hey, you know, this $12 an hour job isn't bad, right? Yeah, okay, I'm making $28.50 or $28.30 out of the gate right after I graduated. And that's not even my final pay. Do you have a dream job? Yes, I do. And it is the job that I am doing right after I graduate, actually. It's been my dream job, or one of my dream jobs, I should say, for ever since I was a kid. It's really nice. So I do have a dream job, and I've actually accomplished that goal since I went to college, and it would not have been possible without it. Not at all. But yeah, when you go to college, don't just, you know, do the classes and keep your head down and graduate, because if you do, you'll be fucked when you graduate. You'll be doing great in college, fine, But if you don't do all the extra stuff, if you don't, I say all the extra stuff, if you just go to a club that you like, if they don't have clubs, hey, hi, how's it going? Just go to a club you like. If they don't have clubs, then do student government. If they don't have a student government, then do something, right? Do something extra. Do competitions. Colleges are always participating in competitions and things. Do those. If you don't do those, you don't have networking. If you don't have networking, you're fucked after you graduate. After you graduate, you're going to be on your own. You're going to be applying to random jobs, and you're going to get maybe a $20 an hour job. Great. But if you do the networking, if you do the competitions, if you do the clubs, if you do the student government, you'll have so many opportunities thrown at you, you won't know what to do with them. And you'll just get to pick the best one. And for me, that turned out really well. It's super nice. Like I said, because I did the extra stuff, specifically because I went out and did competitions, and because I went to the clubs, the cybersecurity clubs and things. Because I did that, I now have a really well-paying job that is one of my dream jobs, and it's fantastic. He smells up. Thank you. It is Felicity Alphonse. Thank you so much for the amazing comment. Yeah, specifically because of that. And I would not have gotten that opportunity if I had just kept my head down and done the work. I would have passed college, but it wouldn't have been like this. And, you know, even now, with all the stuff going on, I still have this job. It's great. So, believe me when I say, again, from experience, 1, go to college, get a degree, because you're fucked with that one. Absolutely. I was very lucky not to be living on the street during the time that I did not have it, or wasn't going to college, and was unemployed. I was very lucky. And when you do go to college, try and do some extra stuff. Try to go to clubs, try to do competitions, try to do student government, whatever they have available, try and do those. Because if you don't, you're fucked after you graduate. You just need to be planning for the future. Once you graduate and you have a job, everything's fine enough from there. You know, you can plan from there, but just be planning what you're doing in college and immediately after you graduate from it. Only that, learn some math or math-like skills. Well, college does actually force you to do like college algebra. Pretty much every field, I believe. That's like a base requirement, at least here in the United States. So if you're in the US, that's pretty much guaranteed for you. College algebra is like the bare minimum you should be learning. Comp Sci, even if you don't major in it. Yeah, and if you haven't taken a programming class or something like that, I highly recommend it. Programming will help you a lot, but you don't have to, I guess. Just be aware you might or probably will be needing to learn some code at some point. Also, hello, DRGS Math Office Hours. How's it going? But yeah, I know a lot of people. Hey, awesome. I know a lot of people that say, "Oh, I don't need college," or "I won't go to college because it's not necessary." I did used to think that way myself, and I took it to an extreme, and I went out and tried to do life without a college degree, and it's really hard. It's not just really hard anymore, it's almost impossible. I agree with your advice, but you have to have a plan. Yeah, college can be deferring adulthood if you don't have a plan, and I do agree with that. If you don't go in with a plan, or I don't know, the problem is when you're 18, it's really hard to have a plan. If you do, great. The problem is when you graduate high school and you're like, oh, I'm going to go to college now. I'm like 16, 17, 18, whatever, right? Nobody has a plan then. Nobody knows what they're going to do. And that's fine. That's okay. Just go undeclared. Take your prerequisites that you have to have for college, you know, English, college English, college algebra, right? Things like that. Do that. But try and figure things out quickly. It could be that you're like me and you take a few years to figure out what you want to do, and you go back and, you know, you're 27, 28 and you're still in college, which actually is kind of the median right now. There are a lot of people who go to college or are currently enrolled in my school specifically that are about 26 to 28. You need an adaptive mindset. Yeah, plan A, but when that doesn't work, you pivot to plan B. Pivot. Yeah, and I do agree with that. Again, it's difficult to have a plan when you're 18. Remembering my experience from being an 18-year-old is... I'm close enough to 18 that I still remember what being an 18-year-old was like. It was really confusing, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and I had people constantly saying, hey, you need a plan, you need to know what you want to do, you need to know this, you need to know that, and I was like, I don't fucking know any of this. I was terrified, and that's fine. You know, a lot of people don't, apparently. I wasn't the only one, and it seems like that's a common thing. If you're, you know, 16, 18, 19, even 20, you have no idea what you want to do. And, you know, sometimes even older, and that's fine too. But just try to figure things out. Try a few different things. Colleges will oftentimes offer various things to do, such as the college I'm at offers like a career path choice kind of thing, where you go into the admissions office and you say, hey, I don't really know what I want to do. And they'll offer you a whole bunch of options. They'll have you take a couple of tests to see what you're interested in. They'll ask you what you're interested in. They'll offer a bunch of options, and you take all these options and you run with one of them. And if that doesn't work out, you go with another, things like that. And that's fine. If your college has something like that, then great. If they don't, then do something, right? Try and figure it out, but don't rush because you don't need to rush. You don't need to put that extra stress and pressure on yourself. There's no reason to. You will eventually figure it out. It's just, if you could figure it out sooner rather than later, great. You know, even better. But don't feel pressured to figure it out. I felt very pressured as a teenager to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. A lot of important people in my life constantly asked me, hey, what's your 5-year plan? What's your 10-year plan? And at 18, you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. And that's fine. You know, you don't have to. That's okay. Just keep it in the back of your mind. You know, what do I like doing? What do I feel like I want to do? At that point, you should at least know what you like doing. So maybe try that. Run with that. I'm a huge fan of college, but the cost is a huge factor when you're racking up debt figuring it out. Yeah, the issue with figuring things out as you're in college is that you do rack up a lot of debt, or you can very easily rack up a lot of debt trying to figure out your path. If you constantly switch from choice A to choice B, if you constantly switch from, you know, your current degree to another degree to another degree, you're gonna end up wasting a bit of money. But that's why I say take your gen eds first, because those kind of transfer throughout all of your courses or degrees. No matter what degree you have, you will have to take college algebra. No matter what degree you have, you'll have to take college English. I don't know what it's called, but college English. So take those and figure it out on the way. And there will be some similarities based on your degree too. If you have if you know you want to do something that you like, if you have a thing that you like to do, then check out all the degrees in that field and say, okay, here's the commonalities between them. I'll just take these classes for now and I'll figure it out later. Easy enough. And that's the way to minimize racking up your the amount of classes that you have to take that would be ultimately useless, and also the debt that you would rack up with that. It's a common problem because the ideas you have depend on your experience and perspective in the world, and when you're so young, it's very limited. Yeah, exactly. Again, it took me 26 years, 25 years to really figure out what I wanted to do. I had a couple of ideas, even at 23, 24. I still had like a few paths that I could have taken that I was like, oh, I like this. I also like this. I also like this, though. I'm not sure what I want to do. And that's fine. Just sometimes it takes a little bit longer to figure it out. That's cool, too. Just eventually figure it out. You will eventually figure it out. Don't pressure yourself. But the longer you take, the more money it's going to cost. Which may not be a factor in the short term, but in the long term, it could hurt you. Thing is community colleges are really good for that. If you don't want to rack up a bunch of debt, start at a community college. A lot of people think, oh, community college is blah, blah, blah. And trust me, it's fine. You'll be fine. You can always transfer to your 4-year. I had a different experience at 18. I knew exactly what I was doing, but I saw people that didn't have a plan really struggle. Yeah, it's in... some people have it figured out at 18. If you're one of those people, great. You have a head start. Fantastic. Go with that. But if you don't, and that's a very common problem, if you don't know what you want to do, if you don't know what you're doing, the best piece of advice I can possibly offer is just take a couple of the gen eds, try and figure out what your college offers, if your college offers anything like a career path kind of choice or system, whatever they have. Try those and just say like, hey, here's the gen eds I need for this thing that I really want to do. Great, take those and figure it out later. Can I use a laptop with a Pentium quad-core processor for coding? Yeah, it depends on what OS is on there and what kind of programming and how large the project is, things like that. But assuming it, again, kind of staying on topic with the college thing, if it's just for like a class or something, it's probably fine. Fine enough to work anyway. I would probably load Linux on it rather than Windows, but that's my personal choice. That's up to you. So that's welcome to Egg's advice for college. That's today's stream, I guess. But yeah, it's the reason I talk about college so much is because it's actually helped a lot. Don't just say, please don't just say that college sucks and I hate it and it's not useful, because coming from experience, it's very useful. It can be a matter of life or death going to college. Again, I was very, very lucky not to be living on the street as I was figuring out that, hey, I should go back to college. Windows 8.1 basic Java. And it'll work. You're just gonna hate it. But yes, it'll work. Again, I would recommend Linux, but if you're not familiar with Linux, Windows 8.1 works. You're just gonna hate your experience with it. I agree. In many cases, I think kids should get a shit job and earn shit money while they're young, so they learn the value of money and keep their eye on the ball with regards to what to do. Although this is poor people advice, I look at English degrees as somewhat indulgent for young people. 100% agree it's useful. Also, we need smart people who can think. See, the problem with getting a shit job with shit money currently, and it's actually been an issue for a long time, but it's kind of exasperated at the moment, is that none of those places are hiring. It used to be that you could go to McDonald's and, get a shit $8 an hour job. And that was fine. The problem is there's so many people that want those jobs that it's difficult to actually get one of those jobs. When I had a GED, I wasn't going to college or anything. I applied for, I don't know how many fast food restaurants. Again, I applied at literally tens of thousands of places. I don't know how many fast food restaurants I applied from. I never got a single call back from them. No, I'm sorry. I did get a call back from Taco Bell, but they didn't hire me. That's difficult. it's more difficult than people realize to get even a job working like flipping burgers at McDonald's. What did you end up majoring in? I majored in cybersecurity and programming. So software development and cybersecurity. It's kind of a dual AAS, but that's because I need the other AAS in order to start my job. Then they're close together. Like the two AASs that I'm getting are only like 3 or 4 classes apart from each other, and I need the other one. I was originally going for software development, but I need the other one to really actually start the job that I'm going in. So getting both, I guess. Sure, why not? It'd be a little weird having 2 AASs on my resumes and things, but whatever. Hey, AT2035 XLR, yep. Perfect. Hello, VR Linux. It is a beautiful microphone. My cousin does cybersecurity and makes bank, yeah. It's a good field. Here's the thing about choosing a field. The AT2020 USB Plus, nice. Those ones are really good too, honestly. It doesn't really matter too much. The XLR is going to be better in quality, sure, but really the 2020 works just fine. So choosing a degree is difficult because there's so much pressure on choosing the right one. People are like, oh, hey, get one that pays really well, right? The most common advice I hear is get a degree that pays really well. I'm going to counter that and say you don't necessarily want a degree that pays super well. Sure, it really helps. Yes. If you go for a degree or if you go for a field that pays well, hey, thank you so much for the follow, VR Linux. If you get a degree or if you go for a field that pays super well, then great. That's fantastic. I happen to choose one that pays well. Great. But ultimately, life is about happiness, and you're making money to be happy. Sure, if you end up not getting a job because you picked a degree that somehow didn't let you get a job. I don't know of any degrees that are so bad that you can't work anywhere, because even passing college, like a proper college, is usually enough to, get you into their past HR's filters. So I don't know of any degree that doesn't let you get a job, but get a degree that you're happy with. Go into a field that you're happy with, because again, ultimately life is about happiness. Ultimately, we're all here and we have to make the most of it. And if making the most of that means making the most money, then great, do that. If making the most of it means being happy, then choose a degree that makes you happy. Whether it's getting more money, whether it's being in a field that you like, but choose something that makes you happy. The 2035 with the Go XLR kit is nice, but the Go XLR doesn't come with an actual XLR cable, so be aware of that. Also, the Go XLR's, oh hey, thank you so much for the host. I appreciate it. The Go XLR cable that comes with the thing by default, I would probably just replace it. Thank you so much for the follow. Ayazawa. Ooh, I'm so sorry. Hopefully that was okay. Python AI neural network, yeah. Life is about survival. I'd love to agree with you, and I think your odds of survival increase when you're fulfilled, but we live in trying times. Yeah, I mean, obviously surviving is good, but it's more than just about surviving. I'm assuming that you can survive, right? Again, I'm sitting here and I can't think of any degree that you could take in college that won't allow you to get at least a job that pays you later on. Getting past college itself is a way to get past HR's filters. That's great. So I'm assuming that if you go to college, right, if you actually spend the time and the money, yes, it takes money, but again, community colleges are great. If you spend the time and the money actually going to college, you probably will have enough to survive, and that's fine. So after that, you have to look at your own happiness, and more important than going into a field that makes a ton of money is going into a field that you like. Because if you work for 60 years in a field that you hate, you are going to be miserable your entire life, and that's going to suck for you. And you're going to be on your deathbed, and you're going to go, man, I wish I had done the thing that I actually wanted rather than the thing that made money. Now, again, I can't speak from experience from that, but I've seen that happen a couple of times, and that really sucks. So I'd recommend taking something you like over taking something that makes money. Again, I got lucky. The thing that I like also happens to make a bunch of money. So I'm not sure I can speak too much to that, but yeah. I've heard worse pronunciations of my name. I'm so sorry. I am distinctly American, and as such, we will forcibly pronounce every name that we can incorrectly. I think it comes from our European brothers. I think there should be some pragmatism in the mix. I don't disagree. I'm not saying optimize just for money. It's about multivariable. It's a multivariable function. Happiness is one important factor, but not the only factor worth maximizing. It's definitely one of the biggest factors, I would say. And again, I can't think of any degree that doesn't let you get a job afterward. I can't think of any degree from an actual accredited college that doesn't let you get a job after graduating. So I'm assuming the rest of the basics are taken care of. Things like, can I actually get a job with this degree? Yes, you passed college, so no matter what degree you get, you probably can get a job somewhere. It's not necessarily about, just survival at that point, though. It's about, again, your happiness. If you work for 60 years in a field that you hate, you're going to hate yourself, and you're going to hate your life, and you're going to wonder what you did with your life at 60. Many BA/BS humanities degrees struggle. Well, they struggle finding a really well-paying job, but they don't struggle finding a job. That's kind of that's where the line gets a bit fuzzy. Also, they get a degree they love and a job they hate after. It can be, yeah. You can hate your job, but a job is temporary, a degree is forever. A degree lasts you centuries. I say centuries, wow. Decades, even. So a degree will last you decades, and a job might last you a decade if you hate it. If you like it, great. The problem is that degrees last a lot longer than jobs, is what I'm saying. Centuries? Yes. I can math. I'm doing a 3-year course on hospitality management because, high school marks matters very much about what courses you want to do in colleges. I want to learn programming and computer hardware. I would probably say do programming and computer hardware then. If you really want to learn that, if you really want to do that, then do that if you can. I understand there are situations in which you can't do the thing that you like, and that sucks, and I'm sorry, but if you can, please try to. If you love books and end up working in HR for 30 years, the 4 years might not be worth it. Where have I seen you before? Says Donnie Lucifer. Hopefully... John Lennon. I was going to say hopefully on YouTube, but maybe not. Then again, in my course, doesn't have that much pressure to study, so yeah, I'm learning things on my own. Like I said, it's a matter... I think for me, it's more of a matter of happiness. Everybody's going to be different, but ultimately, everyone goes for the same thing. So you can say, oh, get a degree for the money. And for you, the money is the most important part, and that's probably what's going to make you happy. Great. For you, do that. But that's not the kind of advice I would give somebody else who's maybe their money isn't their top priority. For me, money isn't my top priority. Even if my field didn't make a bunch of money, I would still go into it because it's my favorite thing to do. And for me, it's more important to be happy doing what I like doing rather than, having a bunch of money. But if money makes you happy, great. But, yeah, ultimately it's more than just survival. It's when you're giving recommendations to somebody to get a particular degree, you're giving it not because you want them to survive. You're like, I've never thought, oh, what will make them survive the best? It was always, what will make them the happiest? And so a lot of people, when they look at somebody else, they instinctively say, well, what will make me the happiest? Well, what would make me the happiest is making a bunch of money. So I recommend something that makes you a lot of money. But for them, that's not necessarily what's going to make them happy. So my recommendation is always more basic, but more, I don't know, it's harder to quantify and it's harder to put into words and really think about. It's what will make you the happiest, right? If money makes you happy, go for something that makes you a bunch of money. If what you do makes you happy, then go for something that, you like. If you want to flip burgers for the rest of your life, if that's what's going to make you happy, go for it. I don't know anybody who that would make them happy, but if that does, great, go for it. So, like I said, it's a matter of, I wouldn't say perspective, it sort of is. It's a matter of thinking about why you tell someone to do a particular thing. It's a matter of, again, you have all these people who give recommendations and advice, and you have to sit down and say, why am I giving this piece of advice? Why am I giving this recommendation? Am I giving this recommendation because it would be best for them? Or am I giving it because this is what I want? So, and a lot of the times it's because, oh, hey, I like money. You should get something that makes money. Again, you don't really think that as you're saying it, but you have to think about it afterward and say, oh yeah, this is why I like this. It takes some thought and some effort. Main reason I jumped in here is because I have an issue with advanced enchantments, but now I say because my friend and you sound like a mirror of me. Oh, hey. I don't know if it works or not on my server. I use Group Manager and rewrote Group Manager. That's probably why. It's not going to work with Group Manager. Also, Group Manager died like 5 years ago. Like it hasn't been maintained for like 5 years. Use Luck Perms instead. Do I need a.enchant? So Group Manager doesn't work with a bunch of modern plugins these days, actually. Or do I need the allow every single enchantment in their permissions? No, I stay because my friend said you sounded like a mirror of me. It's not about liking money, it's about liking having a roof over my head. And I do think you can get a job, yeah. No, I'm sorry. Use Luck Perms, trust me. I do agree. If you major in poetry, then get a job in corporate because there are no poetry jobs and you spent 4 years doing what you love and 50 doing what you had to do. And yeah, no, I do agree with that. Definitely, it's hard to say look to the future when you're, again, one, a teenager, and two, just starting out in college, because, as a teenager, as an 18-year-old, I didn't know what I was going to do tomorrow, let alone 10 years from then. Don't get a high-end law job, what you'll hate, yeah. There is a balance in all things. And it's difficult to give advice in this field because it's, one, so broad, and two, it's because you don't think the way you think now as a teenager. And it's hard to give advice that gets through to teenagers, right? It's hard as an adult, after you've experienced these things, to give advice that gets through to teenagers before it's too late. Because after they've experienced these things, it's too late. And everyone just wants the best for you. Like, when someone gives you advice, like as a teenager, you're like, oh, yeah, thanks, Dad, or whatever, right? But when someone gives you advice, it's because they don't want you to fail, right? They want to see you succeed. And I've heard that line so many times as a teenager. I'm like, oh God, I get it. No, really, like we actually we don't want failures in this world. Like, none of us want to know someone who is living on the street. It sucks for us because, it sucks for you. So when someone gives you advice, it's hard to say take it to heart. It's hard to say think about it, because I know you won't. Because we all know you won't. So it's difficult to give advice to teenagers, is what I'm saying. And I found that simplifying things helps, and making the choice easy helps a lot. Later on, you're going to come across a bunch of choices that are difficult, and easy choices don't suck. And so I try and offer advice that gives you easy choices and gives you easy solutions, because it's more likely people are going to take those, especially teenagers, but people in general, it's more likely people will take easy advice than advice that's difficult. And it's difficult to give easy advice on such a large thing. So I have to make some generalizations and simplifications, but generally, take something that makes you happy rather than taking something that makes you a bunch of money. Generally. Because generally, you aren't going to be taking poetry. Generally, you aren't going to be taking... there are very few people in the colleges that I've seen that are taking specifically like degrees in poetry or degrees in fine art. There are those people, yes, but even those people I've actually seen go into theater and actually make a decent amount of money having opportunities from the college itself. Even those people who are taking degrees that aren't considered profitable in the colleges that I've seen and I've been to a few, again, being part of the whole this whole system, I guess. Even those people have a bunch of opportunities thrown at them to make a fairly decent living. And it's those people that go in, again, it's those people that go above and beyond, that do more than their classes, that actually end up making it. It's the same in any field. So it is difficult to give advice that's easy, because this isn't easy. But generally, do get a degree that you like, but more importantly, no matter what you do, no matter what degree that you take, do more than your classes. Go out and actually do clubs if your school offers it, do extracurriculars, do competitions. I don't know of any school that doesn't do some form of competition at some point. So see if they have that. Anything, right? Anything extra, do that. Doesn't matter what degree you take, do that. Again, I have seen poetry, fine arts. I've seen, we actually have clubs dedicated to plays. And those people actually went out and did plays for the city, and they got paid for it actually fairly well. And a lot of them got jobs and contracts off of that. So do that. Again, that's not a degree that's considered well paying, but they actually got contracts and jobs out of that, and they'll have careers set for the rest of their lives because of that. So even if it's not well paying, try it anyway. Just please make sure to just do a little extra, like go to a competition, go to a club, do something, right? Do something that will make sure that you have something after you graduate. It's difficult, again, as a teenager to think past what I'm going to do tomorrow, but please try that. Try if you can, because if not, you will be fucked when you graduate, and nobody wants to be in that position. Or you won't graduate at all, and nobody wants to be in that position either. But yeah, I agree. There are ways to kind of min-max the system, but there are ways to think ahead and make a decent living while also doing something that you like. But that's really hard and takes a lot of time, and no teenager's going to do that. So you have to give advice that's simple, unfortunately. I'm 23. People say that I'm like a boomer 20-year-old because I do not bend with today's society because my views of society are way different than today's teens. It could be. There are a lot of differing opinions these days on everything. So it's difficult to say kind of there's trends that a particular society will go to. So in the United States, for example, it's euthanasia, things like that are frowned upon and now have been demonetized. Thanks, YouTube. Not that I was monetized anyway. So yeah. So, for example, in American society, euthanasia is frowned upon, but in a lot of Eastern societies, that's actually something that's a viable option for a lot of people. It's difficult to say what is or isn't societal views because that depends on the society you're in. Yeah, there's even subcultures, right? Of course. So there's probably a bunch of people that think like you, that relate to what you think or what you feel, right? And we'll all trend towards those groups. That's kind of what a clique is, but that's also kind of just what we do as people. We, trend towards people that share our opinions and beliefs. So, for example, for example, again, let's just show the wizard behind the curtain here. But, for example, you're probably watching this because you're like, oh, I agree, I get this, I understand, yada yada, right? If you disagree with everything that I say, you're probably not watching me right now. So you don't have to agree with everything, but if you disagree with everything that I say, you're probably watching somebody else that you agree with instead. As a people, we just tend to, gravitate towards other people and groups that think like us. So it's difficult to say that, oh, I have this opinion that's different from society's. It might be different from, maybe a vocal part of society or a major part of society, but you will always find subcultures that you agree with or that agree with your own opinions. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Sometimes opinions and cultures change a lot throughout history, and what was common even 50, 60 years ago, I know that's such a long time for teenagers, but even what was common like 50, 60 years ago is frowned upon today. So you will always find someone that agrees with you, no matter what your opinion is. And you might find 50 or 60 years from now, maybe, that your opinion is the popular one now. So, I don't know. It's hard to say for sure. It's a lot of wishy-washy, maybe not stuff, but that's kind of how the world works. Sorry. It's all gray area. It's all gray area. There is no black and white. One of the things that I'm reminded of is that no matter who you're talking to, nobody's the villain in their own story. And that you always have to remember that whenever you're talking to someone who's a pain in the ass, who, you disagree with, or who, you think is a thorn in your side, or who you think, should be removed from their position of power if they are in a position of power. Again, I'm reminded of some of my classes. If you find someone that you think, how can they possibly be any good? You always have to remember that nobody is the villain in their own story. That in this person's life, they are not, they're not the bad guy, because nobody is. Nobody considers themselves the bad guy. Nobody considers themselves the evildoer. Everyone's doing what they can to be good according to their own views. And again, more demonetization incoming, but even Hitler, right? Like, worst case scenarios, like worst people in the history of history, right? They all did it because they felt that's what was right. They are not the villain in their own story. And it's so weird to think about, but you have to consider that when you're talking to people, that no matter how evil or terrible this person seems, to them, they're not. And you have to wonder, what do they think and why are they doing this? You have to ask, why is this person being such a pain in the ass? Because there's a reason behind it. Because they're not just screwing with you just to screw with you. There's a purpose. So you have to think about it. You have to wonder, like, okay, why is this person in my way? Why are they doing this? And what am I doing that could be seen as bad to other people? Welcome to society. It's all gray area. It's all gray area. Fuck. Life is hard. Also something I learned over the last couple of years. Nobody's an adult. Everyone's faking it. There are some people that you look at and go, wow, they're doing so well. They're adulting so well. How did they do it? They fucking stumbled into it, just like the rest of us. We're all feeling our way around it. You could be 50 and you're still just kind of feeling your way around. You're just much better at it than the 20-year-old. Yeah, there's no such thing as being an adult or growing up. It's hard. It's all hard. I learned that I slowly started learning that a few years ago. I was like, as I was getting to 20, right? I was like, oh man, I'm almost 20. I can finally, I can finally drink. I can finally do adult things. I'll get to be a real adult. And as I was getting older and older, you get older slowly, right? You don't just wake up one day like, oh, I'm 25, I'm an adult, and I think adult things, and I do adult things. That doesn't happen. And you hear this a couple of times, even again as a teenager. You hear this a couple of times, like, that's just them being adults and trying to tell me to do the right. No, really, none of us have no idea what we're doing. Kids until death do us part. Yeah. Yeah, as a teenager, you hear adults tell you that. You hear your parents tell you that. You hear your teachers tell you that, right? Or as a kid, even, like, oh, everyone's just faking it. And you don't realize how true or how real that is until you actually become what kids consider an adult. And you're like, oh, fuck, I still have no idea what I'm doing. What's going on? Am I alone here? And you go through this phase of like, shit, am I the only one who has no idea what I'm doing here? And you realize after talking to people, you realize, no, nobody else knows what they're doing here either. We're all just kind of trying our best to figure things out and do our best, and nobody knows what they're doing, and it's great. So you don't quite feel so alone anymore. It's one of those things that you hear as a kid and as a teenager, and you don't really think about until you're again an adult, and you're like, am I alone? And no, you are not. Nobody knows what they're doing ever. It's just we're better at faking it than the kids and teenagers are. That's the only difference. We know a little bit more, so we're a little bit better at faking things. And as you get older, that just gets better and easier. It's one of those things that's like, oh shit. More things that adults tell you that you don't realize until it's way too late. Adults are always like, think 10 years ahead, or think 5 years ahead, or think a year ahead. For adults, a year ahead, 5 years ahead, that's fairly easy to do. For kids, not so much. So it's hard to give advice to teenagers. But again, as adult or as a kid, you hear, I don't know what I'm doing ever. I just fake it until I make it. And you always think, oh, that's such BS. These people obviously know what they're doing. And no, that we don't. Plan out your future. You always hear, go to college, make sure you get a degree that pays well, or make sure you do, or even just, go to college and make sure you get a degree, because otherwise you can't make it in the world. And as a kid, and again, as a teenager, you think, oh, that's such BS. I'm sure I can get a job somewhere doing something. No, you can't. Life is hard. Experience is a great teacher. And one of those other things that you think as a teenager and as a kid, that, oh, all these adults are just trying to or it's again something you don't really think about, I guess, is all these people trying to give you advice, like, oh yeah, it's just the adult thing to do is to give teenagers advice. That's what I guess that's kind of what I thought as a kid, right? Or as a teenager, or kid, or whatever, right? That's just kind of what I always thought, is adults, in order to be an adult, you have to give advice to teenagers and kids. Like, that has to be, that's like part of being an adult, I guess, is what I thought. Now that I really think about it, is that like, oh, as an adult, when I grew up to be an adult, when I hit that magic age of being X years old, and suddenly I'm an adult and know everything, I have to give my advice to kids. No, that's not how any of that works. We give you advice because we don't want to see you fail. And again, that's something that you think about, like, as a kid and a teenager, like, oh, they say they don't want to see me fail, yada yada. I get it, I've heard it 1,000 times, but we don't. The truth is, we don't want to know somebody who's a failure. So we're trying to give you some advice so that way you can avoid the mistakes that we made, because we don't want to know a failure. And we're not just giving advice because that's what the adults do. We're trying to make sure you don't fail, because we don't want to know someone who's out on the street, because we don't want to be that person that when you grow up and you again grow up, hit that magic age that you're an adult suddenly, who knows when the fuck that is. We don't want to know someone who knocks on our door at 3 o'clock in the morning saying, hey, do you have a couch? We don't want to know someone like that. So we're trying to help you avoid that, because fuck that shit. Yeah, it's so weird thinking about like how I thought about things as a kid versus like how I think about them now, and saying like, well, that was ridiculous, or saying like, oh, that was something that I should have taken into consideration, or that was a piece of advice I should have actually listened to. That's gonna happen to you no matter what. Like, no matter who gives you advice, you're always gonna have, later on, you're gonna grow older, and you're gonna realize, oh fuck, I made this huge mistake that somebody else tried to prevent me from making, and shit. I plan on upgrading my laptop. What features should I look for? Depends on what you're doing with it. What are you planning on doing with your laptop, Meg? Ooh boy, I'm so sorry. Meg Banerjee. I am so sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. I do try. I genuinely try to pronounce these correctly. It's just sometimes they're difficult because I'm used to American names and not used to online names, or used to names from other cultures. So it's sometimes difficult for me to pronounce them, so I apologize if I did so incorrectly. But yeah, I don't know, it's interesting thinking about all the advice that I was given as a kid that I didn't take. And maybe you're a teenager, maybe you're a kid, and maybe you're like, oh, I've taken all the advice. Maybe you're one of those rare special teenagers that actually takes advice from adults. In which case, great. Hopefully the advice that you were given is good. Because again, we're all guessing, we have no idea what we're doing, including when giving advice. And so hopefully your advice was good. And if you're not, the 1% of kids and teenagers that actually takes advice, then congratulations, you're the 99 other percent. And I hope you have had enough advice or experience or both to avoid at least some of the mistakes that I know I've made in my life and that other people have definitely made in their lives as well. Nobody plans to live on the street. Nobody grows up and says, I want to be a beggar. Mistakes happen. Sometimes they're unavoidable, and sometimes they're big. And I hope you are successful in avoiding the big ones that land you on the street. That's the best I can give you, and I'm so sorry. It's hard to give general advice that applies to the entire populace of the whole world, because who the fuck knows who you are and what opportunities you have or don't have. Also, hello, Alpha Wolf. Welcome to Life Advice with Egg. This is the second time I've done this now, I think, in as many streams. Just giving general advice for life, because clearly I'm so experienced. You know, we're all faking it. I'm so sorry. We're all doomed, and I hope you do better than I did. I know I did fairly well, but I still hope you do better than I did. That's the best I got, and I'm so sorry. Nobody can offer you better, because nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. Hey, thank you so much for the follow, Alpha Wolf. There are actually probably there are probably some people in chat at the moment who are older than I am. If you disagree with my advice, let me know. But yeah, honestly, like I said, it's the only advice that I can offer, the only blanket advice that I can offer that applies to everyone. So no matter what advice you get, nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. We're all faking it, and I'm so sorry. I hope you did better than I did. That's it. That's it. It's the only blanket advice that applies throughout the entire world. The only good thing about being an adult is I get to drive. I thought that when I was, I think, what, 21, 22, I had, you know, I was able to drink alcohol, I was able to drive, yada yada, right? I think it was like 19, 20, I got my license. 19? I think I got my license. And I was like, oh, I can drive everywhere now, it's so great. And after about 2 years, that shit gets real old real fast. And now I don't want to drive anywhere. So that will wear off, probably. I have not found... Okay, I say it's unlikely that you'll find anyone that actually enjoys driving on a regular basis, because I personally have not found anyone that enjoys driving on a regular basis. The occasional, like, cross-country, or we're going on a vacation, you know, everyone likes doing that. Sometimes. Depends on how many hours you're sitting in the seat. But not on a daily basis. Nobody likes commuting, because nobody likes traffic. Traffic sucks. So driving sucks. This is why autonomous cars are even a thing. Nobody likes driving. It's perfect. Again, maybe you're one of those few people that do, somehow. If so, great. I don't know any. I don't think... I'm not sure that any exist. But maybe you're one. Again, after a couple of years. Everyone likes driving when they're 19 or when they're 20 or whatever, when they get their, or it's 16, when they get their license, sure. But give it a couple of years. After that, I don't know anybody that enjoys it regularly. You might think, oh, maybe the Uber driver. Nope. They just like the conversation sometimes. When you're driving, you're bored. And Uber drivers and Lyft drivers are all the same, because they're bored too. So conversation is a good thing with them. You get some interesting people when you take Ubers or Lyfts. Lyfts? What the hell did I do? How did I say that the first time? Lyfts. When you get Ubers or Lyfts. You get some interesting people to talk to. If you're not one of those people that makes conversation in your Uber or your Lyft, again, American here, but I know Ubers in other countries as well. If you take an Uber or a Lyft, if you have the ability to, and you don't make conversation with your Lyft driver or your Uber driver, you're missing out, in my opinion. I'm an introvert. Surprisingly enough, I know, an introvert streaming. What the hell is going on? I am an introvert, but I do make efforts to be extroverted. It's hard for me. It's not something I'm naturally wanting to do. It's draining, and it's difficult, but uh-oh, hang on, there's a girlfriend at the door. Okay. Yeah, if you're not one of those people that actually enjoys talking to your Uber or Lyft driver, then you're kind of missing out, in my opinion, because you get some interesting people with interesting opinions. You can make some interesting conversation with them. Like I said, I'm an introvert. Talking to people is draining for me. But it's interesting enough that I continue to do it, at least with the Lyft drivers. How's your life out there? Hello, oh boy. Why? I'm so sorry. Shashwada Baumik. Hello. I'm so sorry if I screwed that up. How's your life out there? Because it sucks in India. No, it still sucks here. Again, being introverted, actually, it's not that bad for me. It's not terrible for me. It's kind of my natural resting state is being indoors all the time and just, communicating online. So it's more comfortable for me. Oh, hello. It's more, again, my natural resting state is just to be indoors all the time and talk to people online, so it's not that bad, but it still sucks, yeah, not being able to go out too often, and yeah. You did amazing. My name is very tough to spell. Thank you. Yeah, hopefully I didn't butcher that too bad. Hi. But yeah, if you, like I said, if you're not one of those people that talk to your Uber or Lyft drivers, I think you're missing out. Maybe try talking to them one day, even if you're introverted, like I am. Trust me, you get some interesting conversations out of that. It's a little odd sometimes. Sometimes it's a little bit frightening, I'll admit. I've talked to a couple that I've just been like, oh, here we go. But at least it's interesting. Also, hi honey, how are you? Alright, so she's gonna join us for a minute here. You pronounced it quite correctly. Awesome. Oh, I'm glad I somehow managed to do that. It's impressive. Occasionally I get it somewhat correct. Hi. Well, how are you? How's your day been? That's the real question. It's kind of a
coffee, chill and chat.
Coffee, chill and chat, although the coffee is finished, so I'm a little bit sad. I could use another cup. Thank you. I slept in a little bit late today, but...
I saw you started the stream.
Yeah, a little bit. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, more coffee is required.
Said, hi, honey.
Yes. Coffee is good. Oh, do I play video games? Which one is your favorite at this moment? I do. I do actually play video games a lot. Not as much as I used to, simply because I've been going to school, I've been doing college, and I haven't had a lot of time to do that and also program, and I prefer programming over games. But my favorite right now has been Assassin's Creed Odyssey, like by far. But I also like Witcher 3 a lot, and Dragon Age. Basically any RPG. I plan on mediocre gaming and video editing for my sister, just basic college stuff like PowerPoint, yeah. Honestly, yeah, that works. So if you're looking for a laptop that's just like some gaming and video editing, see, there's two different kinds of like laptops, or 3 or 4 maybe. There's ones that are good for basic college things, and that's like Chromebook. Chromebook is fantastic for college students. They're super cheap, and they do everything that you need for college super well. If Chromebook's like the cheapest you can go as well, that's still reasonable. That actually still performs. So if you can't afford a Chromebook, or if a Chromebook's all you can afford, then you're gonna have issues doing video editing and gaming on it, especially. So hopefully, I didn't ask the price point, but if you're, let's say your price point, and I'm gonna do this in American dollar redos, because that's what I'm more familiar with. So if you have to convert to USD, then please do. So you're looking at about $250 for a decent Chromebook that'll do college stuff and won't break on you. You look like one of my nerd friends. Hey, it's Silent Rose. How's it going? I took a shower this morning, but I didn't shave. I meant to, but I was running late, so I didn't buzz this. So I have a